Hi everybody! Today we're going to be doing a story from this book. It's still a fairy tale story. It's a really cool book actually, look, if you want to buy it. It's full of stories. But it's called The Three Little Pigs. Now I've changed the name of the pigs to protect their identity. I think that's only fair. But if you want to read the book, you'll see what their names actually were. Anyway, here's the story for today. And don't forget, at the end, there'll be a shout out for a special person who is enjoying my stories. The Three Little Pigs, but not the way you know it. There was once upon a time a pig who lived with her three children on a large, comfortable, old-fashioned farmyard. The eldest of the pigs was called Bobble. The second was Whisper, and the third and the youngest and the best looking was called Stewie. Now, Bobble was a very dirty little pig, and I'm sorry to say, spent most of his time rolling and wallowing around in the mud. He was never so happy as on a wet day when the mud in the farmyard was soft and thick. Then he would steal away from his mother's side, and you'd find him playing in the muddiest place in the yard. He'd roll about in it and thoroughly enjoy himself. His mother often found fault with him for this, and she'd shake her head and she'd say, "Oh, Bobble, someday you'll be sorry that you didn't obey your mother." But no words of advice or warning could cure Bobble from his bad habits. Now, Whisper was quite a clever pig, but she was greedy. Oh, she was always thinking of food. Oh, that sounds a bit like me. And looking forward to her dinner. And when the farm girl was seen carrying the pails across the yard to feed them, she would rise up on her hind legs and dance and caper with excitement. I'm a bit like that when I see chocolate. As soon as the food was poured into the trough, she jostled Bobble and Stewie out of the way with her eagerness to get the biggest and best bits for herself. Her mother often scolded her for her selfishness and told her that someday she would suffer for being so greedy and grabbing. Yeah, it's not nice, is it, grabbing? Right, Stewie was a good, nice little pig. He was neither dirty nor greedy. He had nice, dainty ways for a pig, and his skin was always smooth and shiny as satin. He was much cleverer than Bobble and Whisper, and his mother's heart used to swell with pride when she heard the farmer's friends say to each other that someday that little fellow would be a prize pig. Now, the time came when the mother pig felt old and feeble and near her end, and one day she called the three pigs round and she said, "My children, I feel that I'm growing old and weak, and that I shall not live long. Before I die, I should like to build a house for each of you, as this dear old sty in which we've lived so happily together will be given to a new family of pigs, and you will have to be turned out. Now, Bobble, what sort of house would you like to have?" "Oh, guess what he said? A house of mud," replied Bobble really excitedly, and he's looking longingly at the wet puddle in the corner of the yard. "And you, Whisper?" said Mother Pig in a rather sad voice, for she was disappointed that Bobble had made such a foolish choice again. "I'd like a house of cabbage," answered Whisper with a mouthful, and raising her trough out of this, her snout out of the trough in which she was grubbing for some potato parings. Oh, she likes raw potatoes too. There's a lot of similarities between me and Whisper, I think. "Foolish, foolish child," said Mother Pig, looking quite distressed. "And you, Stewie," turning to her youngest son, "what sort of house shall I order for you?" I'll have a brick house, please, Mother. It will be warm in the winter and cool in the summer and safe all year round. That's a sensible little pig, replied his mother, looking fondly at him. I will see that all three of these houses are ready at once. And now one last piece of advice. You've heard me talk about our old enemy, the fox. When he hears that I am dead, he is sure to try and come and get hold of you, to carry you off to his den. He is very sly, and he will no doubt disguise himself and pretend to be your friend. But you must promise me not to let him enter your houses on any pretext whatsoever. No, we won't. So they agreed. Now, the little pigs promised, for they'd always had a great fear of the fox, of whom they've heard many, many terrible tales. A short time afterwards, this is the sad bit, the old pig died and the little pigs went to live in their new houses. Bobble was delighted. You can imagine. Ooh, got a frog in my throat. Bobble was delighted. You can imagine. Oh, there was soft mud on the walls, there was clay on the floor, and soon Bobble's house was just one great big mud pie, slipping and sliding and rolling about all day, making a right mess. Now, one day he was laying half asleep in the mud and he heard a soft knock at the door, and a gentle voice said, May I come in, Master Bobble? I want to see your beautiful new house. Who are you? Said Bobble, starting up in a fright. For though that voice sounded gentle, he thought it was a feigned voice, and he feared it was the fox. I am a friend come to call on you, answered the voice. No, replied Bobble. I don't believe you're a friend. You're the wicked fox against whom our mother warned us. I won't let you in. Oh, is that the way you answer me? Said the fox, speaking very roughly in his natural voice. We shall soon see who the master is here. And with his paws he set to work and scraped a large hole in the soft mud walls. A moment later he jumped through it, catching Bobble by the neck, flung him on his shoulders and trotted off with him to his den. Well, that was brutal. The next day, as Whisper was munching a few cabbage leaves out of the corner of her own house, the fox stole up to her door, determined to carry her off to join her brother in his den. He began speaking to her in the same gentle voice in which he had spoken to Bobble, but it frightened her very much when he said, I am your friend come to visit you, to have some of your good cabbage for my dinner. Please don't touch it, said Whisper in great distress. The cabbages are the walls of my house, and if you eat them, you will make a hole, and the wind and the rain will come in, and it will give me a cold. Do go away. I'm sure you're not a friend, but our wicked enemy, the fox. And poor Whisper began to whine and whimper, and to wish that she'd not been such a greedy little pig and had chosen a more solid material than cabbages to build her house. But it was too late now. And in another minute, the fox had eaten his way through the cabbage walls and caught the trembling, shivering white Whisper and carried her off to his den. The next day, the fox started off for Stewie's house, because he had made up his mind that he would get 3 little pigs together in his den and then kill them and invite all his friends to a feast. But when he reached the brick house, he found the door was bolted and barred, and so in a sly manner he began, Do let me in, dear Stewie. I have brought you a present of some eggs that I picked up in a farmyard on the way here. No, Mr. Fox, replied Stewie. I'm not going to open my door to you. I know your cunning ways. You've carried off poor Bobble and Whisper, and you're not going to get me. At this, the fox was so angry, and he dashed with all his force against the wall, and he tried to knock it down, but it was too strong and well built. And though the fox scraped and tore at the bricks with his paws, he only hurt himself, and at last he had to give up and limp away because his paws were bleeding and sore. "Never mind," he said. "I'll catch you another day. See if I don't, and I'll grind your bones to powder. And when I've got you in my den..." He snarled and he showed his teeth. Next day, Stewie had to go to a neighbouring town to do some market and to buy a big kettle. He was walking home with it slung over his shoulder, and he heard the sound of steps creeping behind him. For a moment his heart stood still with fear. It would if somebody was following me. I'd be frightened. And then a happy thought came to him. He just reached the top of the hill and he could see his own little house at the foot of it among the trees. In a moment, he snatched the lid off the kettle and he jumped himself inside. He called himself up, round, and he lay quite snug at the bottom of the kettle. And then with his foreleg, he managed to put the lid on so that it was entirely hidden. So it was inside the kettle. With a little kick from inside, he started the kettle off, and it rolled down the hill full tilt. And when the fox came up, all that he could see was a black kettle spinning over the ground at pace. Very much disappointed, he was just going to turn away when he saw the kettle stop close to the little brick house. And then a moment later, Stewie jumped out of it, escaped the kettle into the house, barred and bolted the door, and put the shutter up at the window. "Oh!" exclaimed the fox. "You think you'll escape me that way, do you? We'll soon see about that, my friend." I don't think he's his friend, do you? And very quietly and stealthily he prowled around the house, looking for some way to climb up on the roof. But in the meantime, Stewie had filled the kettle with water, and having put it on the fire, sat down quietly, waiting for it to boil. Just as the kettle was beginning to sing and to steam to come out of the spout, he heard a soft sound like muffled step, patter, patter, patter overhead. And the next moment, the fox's head and forepaws were seen coming down the chimney. That's terrifying. But Stewie, very wisely, had not put the lid on the kettle. And with a yelp of pain, the fox fell into the boiling water, and before he could escape, Stewie had put the lid on, and the fox was scalded to death. Brutal. As soon as he was sure that their wicked enemy was really dead and could do them no further harm, Stewie started off to rescue Bubble and Whisper. As he approached the den, he heard piteous from his poor little brother and sister, who lived in constant terror of the fox killing and eating them. But when they saw Stewie appear at the entrance to their den, their joy knew no bounds. He quickly found a sharp stone and cut the cords by which they were tied to a stake to the ground, and then all three of them started off for Stewie's house, where they lived there happily ever after. And guess what? Bobble quite gave up rolling in the mud. And Whisper stopped being greedy, for they never forgot how nearly these faults had brought them to an untimely end in that book. Now then, thank you for listening, but it's shout out time, and today I'm going to be shouting out to Forrest. Forrest loves getting dirty and muddy, and Forrest loves rolling in the mud, and I'm not sure he likes eating cabbages too much, but he's a bit like me, he likes eating chocolate and goodies. So a shout out to Forrest, thank you for listening, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.